Welcome to Simply Joy by Kristen. I'm Kristen and I'm so glad you are here. Hello, friend. I'm so glad you're here. As you can see, I'm in my booth. I just put a few things from LinVilla in it, but let's talk about LinVilla. What was popular, what sold first, there were some surprises, what was still left at the end, how did it go, what were the breakdown of numbers, was it worth bringing Christmas and spring items as well as the fall? It was a fall craft show. Let's talk all about it. But as we do it, let's do some creative therapy together. So let's get started. Let's start with giving this cute frame a second look. I made it maybe 2-ish years ago. It didn't sell, and I just decided let's change it up. So I started with giving a layer of black velvet paint. I did a little touch up and sealed it with liquid patina. But as that dries, let's start talking about LinVilla. So LinVilla is an entire weekend. They let us set up the night before, and I wanted to share a few of the last minute projects that I pulled off. And funny story, I actually started this one on August 20th, but I didn't know how to finish it. So it was one of Royce's papers, and I knew I wanted to make 2 statement pieces with it. This is the first one. I love how it turned out. I added a little bow, added some of my grandma's buttons to it. I added a vintage tag I had found thrifting, and then covered it with some of Royce's decoupage paper that I fussy cut out. And then I made one of my paper dolls. Now, check her dress out. Can you believe that that is a bag from a shoe store, specifically DSW? And if you look closely at the purse, that's the D. I know, you can make anything out of what would maybe be considered trash, right? Anyways, I love these 2 statement pieces. I also painted the bases of these black. I don't have a picture for it, but you'll see them later. I made some more of my magnets, and that's why I needed the pillars to be painted black, because I wanted to lift a few of these little scenes up. So at the end of the day, I think I had a total of 11 of them. 10 of them made it to LinVilla because one was already spoken for, but everyone was a little different. And they ended up being my showstoppers. Like, even though I had my 2 big pieces there as statements, like, I had so many stop to look at these because they're so cute. Oh, I love how they turned out. One of the things that I do to really help with setup is I do prep the week of. And so I went in and I gathered everything I was going to need for displaying, all the items, priced it, and I even put them in categories in totes. It just made life so much easier for packing up the car and unloading and setting up. So we were at spot 48. It is approximately a 10 by 15 spot. They give you a little bit more than a 10 by 10 tent. This was me setting it up, doing kind of like a mock trial, and of course, putting the sides up so we could leave it for the night. Okay, let's talk about this cute little kitty. She is from the newest release of Connie's holiday fall papers, and as soon as I saw her, I knew I had to create with her. And of course, I'm cutting her out. That is what I do. I wasn't sure if I was going to leave the moon or not, but at this point, I'm leaving the moon. I also cut out chipboard and cardboard to be the backing of the frame since it didn't have a backing. and I am pulling out this aged sheet music. I feel like it has kind of a fall vibe to it, and I'm just going to decoupage it onto the chipboard. It's the morning of day 1 of LinVilla. We're going to take down the sides of the tent. We're going to take the covers because I put some sheets and plastic tablecloths over my items, and we're going to reset it up. Oh, she's so pretty. This is a different setup than I've done before. I also made this 4-foot table a vertical look. I really do like how it came out. Another thing that I did was on my crate shelf I make. You can kind of see it. Typically, it has more of a drop cloth covering it, but this time I went black. I feel like it gave it more of a seamless look. Another thing that I did was I invested in a couple new display things. So every year I try to do a few. The first thing that I did was the holder that has my canvases. That I bought this from another vendor at the store, so I loved this. The second thing is the 2 magnet boards for my magnets. They can go on the wall or they can sit up like an easel, so that was a good investment. And then the one investment that you don't see is I got a portable charger, and it was so helpful because when you are accepting card and Venmo, you really need to have your phone at full percentage, right? Okay, let's get back to our little kitten. And so I put her down there, and she just felt like she was too little for this space. And so I had looked at this paper earlier, but then I wanted the aged look, but then I came back to it and it said cat's cradle at the top. So I'm going to give a layered music look. I love the 2 tones together, and I do think that helped. However, I still think it needs something more. And so this is where I pulled out the dictionary. I love that dictionary. But for the very first time, I am pulling out flashcards. I just thrifted them, and I had an idea. Was there one that had a 3 and a 1 for 31, right? And so here I'm looking through and I'm like, there has to be one, right? And guess what? There was. I was so excited because I was like, this is perfect. This is so perfect. And so I tore the edges of both of them. Oh, by the way, the dictionary paper says October. You should know I like having my things have meaning, even in the background. It's LinVilla day 2. A couple changes that I made was I created kind of a curtain look with one of the tent sides to help protect the items a little more. I got a little warm the day before, and I also moved the 4-foot table in just a little bit more. Again, because it's a black tablecloth and, you know, some of the pieces are black or glass or metal and they heat up, and so again, just trying to protect them. Another thing that I did this year that I think I did a better job than maybe years past was I had a lot more of my little chalkboards with prices on them. And I even enlarged some of my prices on certain items. And I just feel like that probably communicated more with customers as they were coming in. So it was a great second day. I'm so proud of our teardown. We tore down, loaded the car, drove home, unloaded almost everything in less than an hour and a half. And I think we live like 35-ish minutes away. So like we were crushing it. Let's work on this kitten just a little bit more. I decided to keep the moon. One thing I did do was I tore the little bottom of the dictionary page because that's where the definition of October was. It was at the very top of the page, so I have that clearly seen. But then I thought, oh, how fun would it be to have that definition with the little tail? And I just am loving this layered look with this sweet, witty little kitten. Let's break down the numbers of LinVilla. Let's start with my top sellers for day one. I sold these set of 3 ghosts. You remember how I said I probably wasn't going to make them again? Well, I had 2 sets and they were in my transaction 3 and transaction 4. And I even had someone come back and say, hey, where's those set of ghosts? So I probably could have sold quite a few of those sets. The Jello molds, they sold the first day. Golden Book magnets, I sold a lot of them. And all of the portrait ghosts, they sold the first day, which again was not surprising to me. The Jello mold one was a little bit to me, but again, it was a good day. So on day one, 77% of my transactions were $20 and under. I think last year it was 83%. So that meant my transactions were maybe a little higher this time around. My average sale, though, was $22, and that speaks highly that even though majority of my sales were 20 and under, I had a good chunk of sales that were quite high to bring the average to 22. The first day, I sold 43% fall, 12% my dark academia. So if I combine that together, 55% of my sales on the first day were that fall dark academian. My magnets and bookmarks and non-seasonal canvases were 27%. Christmas was 15%, and spring was 3%. Day 2 LinVilla numbers. The overall 20 and under was 74%, but the average was 19. So this just shows me that the shoppers were closer to that $20, even if they were a little over, but it wasn't as many huge sales. Fall and dark academia came out at 41%. Christmas was 34%. So Christmas came out swinging. I actually sold the same amount of numbers of fall as I did Christmas. My fall was just marked up a little bit higher. The magnets and the 4x4 non-seasonal canvases came out at 19%, and spring was 6%. The overall LinVilla, let's talk about it. Was it worth bringing Christmas and spring? Absolutely. It came out to 26% of my transactions, my sales were Christmas and spring. So well worth it. My magnets and bookmarks and non-seasonal 4x4s were 24%. So 50% of my sales came from that. That meant fall/dark academia was my biggest category, which was 50%, which doesn't surprise me because, again, it was a fall craft show. My $20 or lower over the entire weekend was 76%. So this is encouraging because last year it was at 83%. And I think part of that was I did have some really nice larger sales. My average was $21. But I had returning customers. I had a lot of customers come in. Oh, I bought this from you last time. Or I saw you at this other craft show. I didn't know you were at this one. And so it's really exciting to have those conversations and have returning customers. And again, I think it just shows going to the same shows, being in the same spot if possible really does help. Another thing to keep in context when I'm giving you my numbers is that the price range of what I had under my tent was as low as $1. I had some things at $1, all the way up to 48. So when you're talking about my numbers that I had a average of $21 per transaction, I'm quite pleased with that, especially compared to last year. So I hope that this helped breaking down the numbers, talking about what percentage sold, etc. Of course, I added into my booth already some of the fall and Halloween items that were left from LinVilla. But I have to show you a positive. Look at my craft room. I'm so impressed. This is what it looks like the week after a craft show. I don't think my craft room has ever looked this good after a craft show. I'm really, really happy with how I set everything up, and I think it has made a huge difference in how I create, and again, just my system. It really has just helped a lot. Thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder to check out my next video. I will be here in 2 weeks. Thank you so much, friends. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye.